The previous video I released was on the Evil Within 2. We went outside the map together, explored the boundaries, and found some mysterious interactions, second Sebastians, and many other interesting things. We're gonna go and explore the next part of the game after this, so without any further delay, let's take a trip into STEM together. When we first load into STEM, we come across this environment that's just filled with water and is completely dark. It is very hard to see here, and a lot of people may have been wondering if there's any secrets that lay within, or the effects that were used when the environmental pieces in the distance pop up. After no clipping towards one of the pieces here, it does seem like they're just 2D representations far out, just a 2D sprite to give you a cinematic effect, and that's why the game uses lots of depth of field and blurring to kind of make this harder to see. However, I noticed that after this had disappeared, even after turning no clip off, no matter where I went in the oil and I travelled far and wide, could I get the next sequence to trigger, so I couldn't progress the game anymore. I'd already broken it, thank you Metal City, but I decided to explore this little realm that we're in, because as many people may be curious, I wanted to also see if there is an edge, and I did find out that there is an edge. Now this area is absolutely massive, and I can't emphasize just how huge the water area is, but you can find the edges, and it's just a huge rectangle that Sebastian is moving within. The entire area to the edge is nav meshed and you can walk around it freely, and it's just curious to see that there is an actual edge to it, as I thought maybe the water was being loaded around Sebastian in a similar manner to how the developers of Silent Hill 2 did it. After reloading my game and going through this sequence normally, I did progress to the next area. However, pay very close attention to the screen. Do you see that effect? It almost looks like a transition that I may have put into the video myself, but I didn't. That effect right there, I believe, is the game teleporting you to another area, another pool of water, and I do believe this because of things that I saw later on, and we'll get more into this, but just keep that in mind. After teleporting to Sebastian's office, I came to the realization that no clip wasn't going to work here. I couldn't get through any objects, raise myself up or down, and the feature just wasn't working at all. So we unfortunately have to skip past this area and go straight into Stefano's little madhouse.
Is this the right place? What the?
Sebastian, you are right to ask is this the right place, because I know that this is not the right place. I'm not exactly sure what happened to cause this trigger, but as you can see, the game spawned me in the incorrect area. When you correctly spawn and go into the building, you may notice if you go back to the door that it is locked. You can't see out of the door any of the windows, but if you go through the door, interestingly enough, the outside environment not only changes, but there's a little set piece opposite to the area you spawned in that almost looks identical. I'm not sure what the purpose of this is. I assume this layer may have been over the original bridge to give it a much more darker look, but I'm not exactly sure what it's doing over there. You can clearly see this is the actual bridge you were on. The entire structure of it is a perfect symmetry. Let's go back to the main atrium. If you remember, there are various windows and doors here that you can't actually see through. When you try to get close up to them, it just reflects the room that you're actually in on the surface. The interesting thing here is, however, when you go around to the outside, they've got fully layered nav meshed and working tunnels, which I just find very curious because there's no purpose for these as you can't even see them. Maybe there was a little bit of a different level design, and just like the original map, these are leftover assets. The door. This is the specific entity that leads me to believe we were being teleported in the water at the start of the video. There are so many things going on in this scene, it kind of blows my mind, and I can't wait to show you guys, and you'll get a much better depth and perception after this scene of how a lot of the things in the Evil Within 2 are handled in engine. Mine the first person, but remember, you normally just walk through this door and load up into a corridor, and this is quite stark and contrasting because we just came from this area, and as you can see here, it's just a nice open environment. And this is a very neat little trick, and a lot of people may be wondering what exactly the game is doing here. Obviously, people who know engines well will know what trick is being used, but for those of you who don't, this should be quite an interesting reveal. As you can see here, when you do press the command to open the door, it activates a trigger which spawns in the tunnel in front of it, which takes over the previous environment. Now normally when you move to the left and the right of the door, the corridor is made to disappear through another event trigger area. However, that area is just around the left and right and not around the entire environment, which is why we can show it here. We'll move on to the corridor after this, and there's nothing particularly interesting, and we just saw all of that. There's no rooms to see or anything, we just go back to the atrium. So I'm going to move forward to the main stairwell, because if you guys remember, there's a few doorways here that you can't get through, and so exploring these will make for some interesting investigation. I found this area actually a little bit interesting for a few reasons. Now first off, when you actually get to the end of the corridor, and I was surprised at this, you can interact with both doors and they open as well. Now it just goes off into the netherworld, but it's still a little bit surprising that these doors are fully interactable as well as open up. Now there's also a badge on the door that says Sebastian Castellanos, which I probably just butchered the last name of. However, from the actual area where the lock gate is, you wouldn't be able to make this out, so I'm not sure if the developers intended for us to see this or if this was just a little bit of laziness. It could have also been an Easter egg, being optimistic. Now when we go to one end of the corridor, there's some kind of room that's behind a cage, and as you can see, it's just a room. It's just a room. It's literally just a room, guys. On the other side, there is also a door behind a locked cage. This is a little bit more interesting, however, there's still nothing behind it. This hallway is one of the most terrifying in the game. It's when one of the big jump scares happens and somebody's taken away by Stefano. Now we're going to teleport ourselves into this corridor, and you'll notice it's very, very dark in here. And when we go down and explore it, you'll see something quite curious. Look at this, we've got a person in here, and this is the person that you see jettisoned away, and they're in some kind of running pose out of sight around the corridor, and I've got some close-ups here so we can see those beautiful, beautiful aesthetics. Now just for the lols, let's go and activate this from the other side and get them killed and see what happens.
No clip activated.
After going through to get a little bit of an extra depth on the scene, you can see they were just pulled towards the end of the tunnel and promptly disappeared into the underworld. Hades strikes another victim. Moving forward, I'm not going to trigger this door because there's a particular scene that's going to happen, and as we go into it you may remember, and we can go around and actually see the NPC hiding behind the door in a frozen pose ready to go through. I feel like this guy looks a little bit like Sebastian, as if the same model was used as an inspiration for it. I tried to get some close-up shots for you guys to appreciate this, but let's go get another person killed that we could have avoided. Stefano apparently teleports even though you can't see him with a full animation, and then we move on to New Horizons. I personally loved the little area that is shown here, and I had to explore the little floor below us, the one that's normally inaccessible. It's just a generic pit with not very much interesting to show about it. Even if there is really nothing interesting to see, I still personally appreciate it. Moving on, we have a blockage at one of the top of the stairs, and we can move past this with no clip of course, and again there is an interactable door on the left. Now you wouldn't be able to see through this door, but there is a room on the other side fully modelled, for what intent is completely unknown, because this is not observable from any location. On the other end of the room is something even more interesting, as there's a double set of doors you can go through, and now you can walk on top of the hallways that you were previously navigating through. Now when moving forward and getting into the elevator, I do not suggest having no clip on. As you guys can see here, it just... I don't know what happened. At this point, I broke everything in my game. I started to see really spooky things as I was traveling around, and it was generally, you know, as you can see, a great time. I explored this environment just to see what kind of things were going on, and again, going back to the first point I made in the video, this is also another reason that I do believe there is a lot of teleportation happening for not only Sebastian, but also for a lot of the set pieces as well as environments. As you can see, navigating around the environment, I can see disjointed set pieces, structures, NPCs, all sorts of things, and areas that we don't even get access to. It was really cool to see all of this, and it was quite an amazing little trip through the netherworld. You don't really get to see these things normally, but after a while I did actually manage to find my way back to the mirror room, and I thought, oh look, I'm in this room again, and this means I can continue, right? I don't have to reload my save, and now I can just actually go on and continue the recording to show you guys more footage. Well, I was just killed with God mode on. Isn't that something, guys? Getting killed with God mode on. So now I decided to traverse my way back through the environment, get through everything legitimately, crawl my way back up, and get myself to the vent. Now if you guys remember, you can actually see the little enemy down here, and she runs back through the door, and I wanted to go and see what happens there.
No first activated. No first deactivated.
After getting killed a second time by the AI, my clinical depression was getting much worse, and I was almost getting suicidal. I decided to troll the AI out for a little bit to relieve the stress and get a little bit of the anger out of my system. Getting killed twice with God mode on is kind of ridiculous, and it's a little bit of an embarrassment. Come on, Sebastian, let's be honest, we gotta go do some hard detective work and investigate. We got a lot of things to figure out, so let's go see how the AI normally reacts. And as you can see, they just go down this hallway and completely disappear. Another asset on the map that teleports to a different location. Going further into the vents, I wanted to show you guys what happens when she chainsaws you from below, because I was actually curious if her NPC was below us, but as you can see, the saw that we saw from before has teleported, or the vents have teleported into place, and this allows a new scene. Now wasn't that a tongue twister, guys? After investigating the outside of the map, I actually found where she had been teleported to, and she's just enjoying the time to herself at this point. We can actually see into the room that she's going to spawn from in the cutscene ahead. However, she's not in this room already, and as I located her, she's somewhere far away. As you saw with a lot of the previous NPCs, they were located right around the area that they were going to be used. Why this isn't the case in this one, I'm not particularly sure. Anyway guys, this is all that's really interesting to show. I hope you've enjoyed the video for now and you're looking forward to more in this series. I've really enjoyed making these, to be honest, and I'm looking forward to making more in them. I just hope we can all unite in our love of the evil within too, and we can get some DLC in the future so that we can explore some more juicy content. If you did like the content, please leave a like and a subscribe. It would really help us get out there and grow the Avid Alliance, and I hope to see you in that very soon. I hope you're having a beautiful day. As always, for now, just take it easy and peace.